Week 3 is almost in the book, so I'm bringing you some early waiver wire and trade targets to go after. Jauan Jennings, I was not familiar with your game, and I swear, you turned into prime LeBron James with the Miami Heat against me in all my lineups today with 46 fantasy points, 12 targets, 11 receptions, 175 yards, and 3 total touchdowns with a hat trick, and I think it could have been better. There's a lot of things that we can take away from this game. I do just really want to highlight the fact that Jauan Jennings, I know there's no Deebo Samuel and whatever, but he has to be the #1 priority waiver wire ad because Deebo Samuel's going to be out for probably the next week to 2 weeks. George Kittle hopefully plays next week, but I think there's going to be a significant role for Jauan Jennings in this overall offense for the 49ers. #1 waiver wire target if he is available. The second waiver wire target that you need to be targeting in your league is going to be Braelon Allen. We talked about Braelon Allen in last week's video, but if you did not pick him up before this last week's game, you need to go pick up some Braelon Allen because Braelon Allen is the clear 2 to Breece Hall, but even being the clear 2, still played on 32% of the snaps, had 11 total attempts for 55 yards, 5 yards per carry is what he averaged, and he also had 3 total targets for 3 receptions. So I like what I'm seeing out of our guy Braelon Allen, but if for some reason he's still out there because of like maybe he didn't pick him up last week and then this week everything kind of locked, I just wanted to bring up Braelon Allen as someone that you definitely must add, but I'm already assuming that he has been added. The third player that you need to be adding to your fantasy football team off the waiver wire is going to be our boy Bucky Irving, who is the 2, potentially the 1 running back on this Buccaneers team. And when we look at the overall snap share over here on PFF, we see that Bucky Irving only had 18 snaps compared to Rachaad White having 42. So as much as people are going to say, oh my gosh, Caleb, Bucky Irving's overtaking Rachaad White, the 49ers are still using Rachaad White as the 1. But then when you look at the overall efficiency, Rachaad White only got 6 carries, Bucky Irving got 9, 5 targets for Rachaad White, 3 targets for Bucky Irving. And when we look at the overall numbers, Bucky Irving did have 11 fantasy points, 9 attempts for 70 yards, 7.78 yards per carry. Rachaad White was still down at 3 yards per carry. And then you had Bucky Irving getting 3 targets for 14 yards. So 11 fantasy points for Bucky Irving, definitely becoming a high priority handcuff / potentially the 1 for the Buccaneers. He's rostered right now in 44% of leagues. So if you're in that 60% league mark, definitely go target some Bucky Irving. My next guy that you need to be targeting is going to be Kmet. And this season has been the death of the tight ends. Sam Laporta, we haven't seen anything from Dalton Kincaid. Mark Andrews is on a private island and we don't know how to reach him. This tight end landscape is pretty desperate right now. And especially if you are a team and you're like, hey, I need some sort of fantasy football production, Kmet could be that for you. He's 46% rostered. Today he had 25 fantasy points, 11 targets, 10 receptions, 97 yards for 1 touchdown. I'm not saying this is going to happen week in and week out for Kmet, but I do like these overall numbers, and I do like the fact that when we're looking at Kmet, he had 73 snaps compared to Gerald Everett, who had 30 snaps, and like I said, had that 11 targets. So that's a massive target share that we do like for Kmet. So you definitely have to be targeting Kmet on the waiver wire if you do need some tight end help. And my final player that you need to be targeting on the waiver wire is going to be Michael Wilson Jr., who we had Michael Wilson in our stash video on Saturday. So like I said, if you guys are tuning in the channel right now, hit that like and subscribe button because you guys can get ahead on some of these guys that I'm definitely liking, and the metrics are starting to like. 14 fantasy points, had 9 targets, 8 receptions, and I know we've seen Greg Dortch, we've seen Marvin Harrison Jr., and then this week it really felt like it was the Michael Wilson Jr. and the Marvin Harrison Jr. show, and so I'm continuing to like what I am seeing out of Michael Wilson Jr. The snaps are looking good in regards to that. I know a lot of people are worried about, hey Caleb, what happens when Zay Jones comes back? Michael Wilson Jr. was drafted in the 3rd round out of Stanford, so definitely if you're in a deeper league, definitely go see if you can go add some Michael Wilson Jr. In regards to some trade targets for your fantasy football team, I brought up a few names. And like I said, we'll do a trade video a little bit later this week where we can see where real life trades are actually happening and how those are looking on your team. But starting off with player #1, it's going to be Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks. Kenneth Walker was injured this week. We saw Zach Charbonnet absolutely start to emerge. So whoever does potentially own Kenneth Walker in your league might start to be a little bit worried because it's been 2 weeks without Kenneth Walker. But Kenneth Walker had a 66% snap share in week 1, 18 fantasy points. When he comes back healthy, I know he's dealing with that oblique injury. I want Kenneth Walker. I do not want Zach Charbonnet. So if I can buy low on Kenneth Walker, I think that's a great opportunity for you. My second trade target that I would be having is Breece Hall. Listen, Braelon Allen's getting all the hype. And if for any reason I can get a slight discount on Breece Hall, I'm not saying you're getting a significant discount. Let's be honest, guys. We all play in fantasy football. We all know how hard it is to actually trade in your leagues. But if you can get a guy like Breece Hall, who is the number 2 running back in fantasy football, 17 fantasy points, 24 fantasy points, 18 fantasy points, and really last 2 weeks, 72 and 71% snap share. Breece Hall is still the one. He is still a league winner. If I can go trade a Hall to go get Breece Hall, whether it's me giving 2 top 4 round type level guys to go get a Breece Hall, I'm 100% doing it because I want that league winning upside on my team. But I just think there's not going to be a chance this season that Breece Hall is going to be any cheaper than he is currently right now, with everyone hyping up Braelon Allen. A little bit more expensive, but Breece Hall is definitely a trade target. My next guy we're going to be talking about is Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson had maybe the first day of hope for the Jets, but I think that's going to just continue. So Garrett Wilson, like I said, if he didn't catch that touchdown, had 88% snap share, 9 targets for 5 receptions, 33 yards and 1 touchdown. Now the yards wasn't great. It wasn't like Alan Lazard's day at all, but I continue to think that Garrett Wilson going forward continues to need to be targeted just due to the fact that I know I got the jersey behind me, so there's a little bit of bias, but I still think Garrett Wilson has ultimate level top 5 upside, and it's just going to be him and Aaron Rodgers getting on the same page. Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely elite in that Thursday night football game. Excited to see more exciting things from Garrett Wilson. Next guy we're going to be talking about buying is going to be Brock Bowers, and we talked about how this tight end landscape has been terrible. Brock Bowers, 11, 18 fantasy points the first 2 weeks, only had 7 fantasy points in full PPR in week 3, and 4 targets, 3 receptions, 41 yards, still hasn't scored a touchdown. And so when we're looking at his overall snap share here, I don't know what to say. We thought it was an absolutely great matchup for Brock Bowers, but the Carolina Panthers came out. They looked super solid. Brock Bowers is still my tight end 1 rest of season. I mean, we see Sam Laporta go down with the injury. We'll have to see what Travis Kelce does in the Sunday night football game. I'm recording this during the game, so like I said, I don't want to report on the Chiefs game because this is coming out right after the game, but Brock Bowers right now still the clear tight end 1 to me. The tight end landscape's terrible. Go get an elite level talent. Like I said, people are probably freaking out thinking, hey, I'm just going to stream a tight end at this point. Go get Brock Bowers. He is an elite level rookie tight end. Absolutely want a piece of. My next player that I want to be trading for, that I want to be acquiring onto my team, is going to be Tony Pollard, running back for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, listen, Will Levis looks terrible. But the last 2 weeks, 18 and 15 fantasy points, but in week 3 versus Green Bay, only had 5 fantasy points, 6 attempts for 14 yards, 4 targets for 3 receptions and 15 yards. And I think it was not only a tough battle for the Tennessee Titans as a whole, but really the game script turned really fast on Tony Pollard. And so I just think Tony Pollard's one of those guys where you were drafting him in the RB20 range in your fantasy football drafts, and then he kind of got boosted in my rest of season rankings, and he's still there. I just think this matchup really highlighted a lot of deficiencies with Will Levis, and I think it really was just a bad game script game. So if someone's panicking on Tony Pollard, I think Tony Pollard is a great buy low opportunity just because of the fact of the snap share, and I think the attempts this week were very low, and so I definitely want to get a piece of Tony Pollard, especially with all these running back injuries. I think Tony Pollard is still going to really return you some great value in the rest of season. And the last guy that I kind of want to talk about and highlight in regards to some trade opportunities is going to be Amari Cooper for the Cleveland Browns. Listen, I turned on my red zone today, and first play out of the gate, I see a bomb to Amari Cooper for a touchdown. And we had been in the start sit streams earlier in the week, and we had said, hey, listen, I'm not starting Amari Cooper no matter what. How can I trust the guy? I had to start him in like 2 leagues because I didn't have any better options. And what do you know? 27 fantasy points, 12 targets for 7 receptions and 86 yards and 2 total touchdowns. We love to see that for Amari Cooper. Now, when we look at the overall snap share in this Browns game, I mean, we got on the other side, Malik Neighbors absolutely going brazy, looking like the second coming of Odell Beckham Jr. But Amari Cooper did play 60 snaps, 44 routes run, 12 total targets. And this offensive line for the Browns is absolute cheeks. It looked terrible. Deshaun Watson was getting sacked all over the place, which is not what you want to be like when you're looking at Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy as your wide receiver options. But Amari Cooper did seem to have a good day. So I'm excited to see what Amari Cooper can do going into the rest of the season. But I will say that if you have Amari Cooper, there's 2 things you can do. If there's going to be people in your league that are going to overvalue Amari Cooper, I think you could definitely try to sell him. But I think if someone's trying to sell him and just get out because of this game, I do think this is a great opportunity to buy because Amari Cooper is talented. We saw what he was able to do last year, especially towards the end of the season with Joe Flacco at QB. I mean, we're looking at He had that week 16, had a 51-point game, 20 fantasy points in week 15 of last season. So the fact that it's been a little bit of a slower start this year, I understand why we might be concerned. But 27 fantasy points, like I said, 12 total targets, 12.29 yards per catch, 2 total touchdowns. I understand even if you remove the 2 tutties, I mean, that's 12 fantasy points, but it still is a pretty good day for Amari Cooper. So I definitely think you need to target some Amari Cooper in your trade. So if you like fantasy football, if you like winning, hopefully you won your week 3 matchup and or going to win your week 3 matchup. If not, hit that like and subscribe button as we are helping you win week 4 and beyond, helping you win a fantasy football championship in 2024. Appreciate you guys so much. Check out these 2 videos if you haven't, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.